The triple moons of Vidian bled crimson light across the sky like wounds that refused to heal. Beneath their glow, suspended 300 meters above the bioluminescent canals of New Havana, floated the Celestial Garden Restaurant, a jewel of transparent crystal and living vine, rotating slowly like a dream caught in orbit. Inside, laughter rang out, but it was not kind. Lyra's slender azure fingers trembled as they danced through the air, forming the elegant, flowing signs of Thasian Sign Language, TSL. Her date, David Chun, didn't even look up from his comm device. The 8th time in 15 minutes. Can you ask her if she wants the synthetic protein or the actual fish? He snapped at the passing server, loud enough for neighboring tables to hear. I don't speak hand-waving. The server, a young human with nervous eyes, glanced at the translation interface embedded in the translucent table. It glowed softly, ready to convert Lyra's signs into spoken standard galactic. Sir, the interface. Yeah, I know about the interface, David interrupted, rolling his eyes. I thought this would be natural. He finally looked at Lyra. His gaze flicked over her pale lavender skin, her pointed ears that twitched at vibrations she couldn't hear, the red dress she'd chosen with such care. My friend said Thasians were exotic, he muttered, not quietly. Didn't mention they couldn't talk. Lyra had learned to read lips in 3 human languages before she was 10. Every word hit like a slap. Her hands moved again, slower, deliberate. I communicate perfectly. You choose not to listen. David didn't see it. He was already typing. At the next table, a man sat with a little girl no older than 7. He wore a simple gray shirt, sleeves rolled to his elbows, dark hair, slightly messy. A pale line circled his ring finger, like a ghost of a wedding band recently removed. The girl looked up from her digital coloring pad, and her hands began to move. Fluid, confident signs in Standard Galactic Sign Language, GSL. The man responded instantly, his fingers dancing with warmth and practice. Their silent conversation was a private world, untouched by the noise around them. Lyra noticed them in her peripheral vision. Her species had enhanced spatial awareness, a trait evolved from navigating dense, soundless jungle canopies on Thassia Prime. She saw the girl's hands, the father's gentle smile, the way they leaned into each other. David sighed theatrically. Look, you seem nice, but this isn't going to work. The whole communication thing is just complicated. I'm looking for something simpler. He stood, pulling out his credit chip. Dinner's on me. Cultural exchange, right? He walked away without waiting for a reply he wouldn't have understood anyway. Lyra sat frozen. The red dress felt like a costume now, garish mocking. Around her, the elegant patrons pretended not to stare. But she felt their eyes. Proof, once again, that human Thasian relationships were doomed from the start. But the little girl at the next table tugged her father's sleeve. Her hands moved urgently, brows furrowed with childish indignation. That man was mean, Papa. The blue lady signs like us. Why'd he leave her? Jackson Rivera looked at his daughter, Elena, with a mix of pride and heartache. Elena had been born deaf. His wife, Maria, had insisted their daughter was perfect as she was. When a speeder accident took Maria 2 years ago, Jackson had been left scrambling to be both parents. Some people only listen with their ears. Peanut, he signed back. It makes them miss the important things. She's sad, Elena signed. Can we help her? Jackson glanced at Lyra. She sat with rigid composure. The kind people were when they're breaking inside but can't show it. Her luminescent skin had dimmed slightly, a Thasian physiological response to distress. The glow wasn't just aesthetic. It was emotional bioluminescence, tied to their nervous system. He made a decision that surprised even himself. He stood, touched Elena's shoulder, and signed, "Wait here." He approached Lyra's table carefully. When he was in her line of sight, he began to sign in standard GSL. "Excuse me, I couldn't help but notice you were signing earlier. My daughter, and I wanted you to know, you deserve better than what just happened." Lyra's head snapped up. Her violet eyes widened in shock. She stared at this human man who spoke her language without voice. Her hands rose hesitantly. "You know how to sign?" "My daughter is deaf," Jackson signed, gesturing toward Elena, who waved enthusiastically. We learned standard GSL, but I've been studying Thasian variants too. Your language is beautiful. It shouldn't be treated like a barrier. Tears welled in Lyra's eyes. Most humans don't even try. Then they're not looking at the right things. Jackson signed with a slight smile. Understanding is understanding. The medium doesn't matter. The intention does. Around them, diners began to notice. Some watched with curiosity, others with discomfort. Elena couldn't contain herself. She slipped from her seat and ran over, taking Lyra's hand. Hi, I'm Elena. Are you okay? That man was mean. Papa says mean people are just scared. Do you want to eat with us? We have dessert coming. Lyra looked down at this tiny human girl with earnest eyes and confident signs. Something inside her loosened. Hello, Elena. I'm Lyra. I would like that very much. Thank you for your kindness. The server approached tentatively. Miss, would you like me to move your table setting? Lyra stood before he finished, gathering her purse with quiet dignity. Yes, please. Within moments, the three of them sat together. A deaf human child, that a single father still grieving, the Thasian woman who had expected rejection but found connection instead. But as Lyra settled into her new seat, a figure approached their table. One who would challenge everything that had just begun. Director Sarah Westbrook wore the crisp navy uniform of the Colonial Integration Office, the dual-species emblem gleaming on her lapel. She'd been dining 3 tables away, but this scene demanded intervention. Excuse me, she said, her voice carrying false warmth. She looked directly at Jackson, not acknowledging Lyra. I'm Director Westbrook with Colonial Integration. I couldn't help but notice you've invited this Thasian to join your family table. Jackson's jaw tightened. He signed to Elena and Lyra. One moment. Then, aloud, Yes, Director. Is there a problem? Not a problem exactly. I wanted to ensure you understand the complications that can arise from cross-species social interactions, especially when children are involved. Cultural differences, communication barriers, things that can be confusing for young minds. Elena's hands moved sharply. Though Westbrook couldn't understand, the child's defiance was universal. Lyra gently touched Elena's shoulder, calming her. My daughter understands differences better than most adults, Jackson said quietly, politeness still intact. She lives them every day. Communication barriers don't confuse her. Willful ignorance does. Westbrook's expression flickered with irritation. Mr. Rivera, the Integration Office has protocols for human Thasian contact, especially in public settings. These exist to prevent misunderstandings. Protect, Jackson repeated. This woman was just humiliated and abandoned. We offer kindness. What needs protecting? Westbrook's eyes finally flicked to Lyra. Thasians process social interactions differently. What you interpret as kindness might be received as something else. They don't understand boundaries the way we do. Lyra's hands moved sharply. Jackson read them and translated aloud. I understand boundaries perfectly. What I don't understand is why your office claims to promote integration while enforcing separation. How a civilization that traveled between stars can't manage basic empathy. Several diners turned to watch. The confrontation was becoming a spectacle. Someone pulled out a comm device and began recording. Westbrook's face flushed. I don't think you understand who you're dealing with. I understand perfectly, Jackson replied, standing to his full height. I'm dealing with someone who sees my daughter's deafness as something to be fixed, who sees this woman's species as something to be managed. I'm dealing with bureaucracy that mistakes control for community. Elena tugged Lyra's sleeve. Why is that woman being mean? Lyra signed back. Some people need the world to stay in small boxes. When they see something that doesn't fit, it frightens them. Westbrook straightened her jacket. Mr. Rivera, I strongly advise you to reconsider this arrangement. This kind of public display could affect your daughter's social placement, her educational opportunities. Are you threatening my child? Jackson's voice dropped dangerously quiet. I'm offering advice. Think about what's best for your daughter. Consider whether your generosity is actually helping or simply making you feel enlightened. She walked away, returning to her colleagues who nodded approvingly. Jackson sat down slowly, hands trembling with suppressed anger. Elena climbed into his lap, small arms wrapping around his neck. Lyra sat very still, her luminescence dimmed. "Perhaps I should go," she signed. "I don't want to cause problems." "Stop," Jackson signed firmly. "Don't let her do that. Don't let her make you believe your presence is the problem. But your daughter, my daughter, is learning the most important lesson I can teach her. That kindness matters more than protocol. That understanding matters more than comfort." Elena's hands moved between them. "Papa's right. You're our friend now. Friends don't leave, because mean people say mean things." The restaurant manager approached with genuine warmth. "Your desserts, compliments of the house. You're welcome here." But as they began to eat, none of them noticed the man in the corner who had recorded the entire exchange. A journalist whose video would go viral before the night ended, turning a simple act of kindness into something far larger and more dangerous than any of them could imagine. The desserts glowed faintly with bioluminescent enzymes, swirling in edible nebulae. Elena's eyes widened. "They glow like you do." Lyra managed a genuine smile. "When Thasians feel happy, our skin lights up. We can't hide our feelings." "I like that," Elena signed. "Everyone would know if you were sad and could help." As they ate, Lyra asked about Elena's life, her school, her interests, her favorite games. Elena answered with unself-conscious enthusiasm, painting pictures of playground adventures, her collection of vintage Earth books, and the way her mother used to read to her and sign before bed. Mama started the collection. Elena signed, her movements slowing. Before she died, Papa keeps adding to it. Lyra's hands moved with profound gentleness. "Your mama sounds wonderful." She was Jackson signed, his throat tight. "She taught me the most important thing was teaching Elena to be proud of who she is. To see her deafness not as something missing, but as a different way of experiencing the world. A complete way." Lyra's gaze met his. She recognized the shared experience, the daily fight against a world that saw difference as deficit. Thasians have a saying, Lyra signed slowly. "The universe speaks in countless languages, but wisdom is understanding that silence and sound are just different dialects of the same truth." Movement near the entrance caught Jackson's attention. A crowd had gathered, comm devices out, pointing toward their table. The manager approached, troubled. "I'm sorry, but you become noticed. Someone recorded your interaction with Director Westbrook. It's spreading on social feeds." She projected a holographic display. "Human father defies integration office. Cross-species friendship or dangerous precedent. Views, 12,847 and climbing. Comments pouring in, some supportive, many hostile." The video played on loop. Westbrook's confrontation, Jackson's stand, Elena's innocent question. "They're making it political," Jackson said quietly, turning basic decency into a debate. Elena signed with confusion. "But we didn't do anything wrong." "You're right, Peanut," Lyra signed. "But sometimes people need to fight about things because they're afraid." More whispers rippled through the restaurant. Someone called out, "Is that them?" A well-dressed woman approached. "Mr. Rivera, what you did matters. Some of us have been trying to change immigration policies for years." She looked at Lyra. "You deserve respect." But another figure appeared, a young man with a sneer. "Yeah, respect, but not at the expense of human safety. Next thing they'll want our schools, our neighborhoods. They want what everyone wants," Jackson interrupted sharply. "To be treated like people. Is that threatening?" "Easy for you to say when you're not losing jobs to their workers." "My daughter is deaf," Jackson said, standing. "She knows what it's like to be treated as less than. And I'll be damned if I teach her that kind of thinking is acceptable." The restaurant erupted into murmurs, agreeing, arguing, transforming into a microcosm of larger tensions. Elena's hands moved urgently. "Papa, I'm scared." Lyra took Elena's hands in her lavender ones. "Don't be scared, precious one. Be brave. What we're doing, your papa, you me, we're showing everyone that fear doesn't have to win. That kindness can be stronger than protocol." But as Lyra finished signing, the restaurant doors opened again, and a group entered that would transform this private moment into something far more consequential. bringing the full weight of institutions threatened by what simple kindness might inspire. Counselor James Hartford entered with the formal robes of the Colonial Council, his silver beard giving him sculptural authority. Behind him walked Counselor Cirrus Thyron, a Theassian woman with deeper blue skin, her luminescent markers pulsing with political weariness. The restaurant fell silent. "Mr. Rivera," Hartford said, voice resonant with practiced authority, "you've caused quite a stir." Jackson remained standing, Elena in his arms. "We had dinner together, Counselor. I wasn't aware that required commentary. When that dinner is broadcast as evidence of integration office overreach, when it challenges carefully constructed protocols, it becomes political." Thyron stepped forward, signing as she spoke. "Mr. Rivera." Director Westbrook's approach was inappropriate, but her concerns aren't baseless. Integration is complex. Rushing it can create backlash that hurts both species. Lyra's hands moved sharply. "Counselor, with respect, I'm not an experiment. I'm a person who wanted dinner, who was humiliated, who was shown kindness. Why does that need to be complex?" Hartford frowned. "Your presence at this table is being used by activists to push for rapid integration, to dismantle safeguards." "From what?" Jackson interrupted. "From understanding? From friendship?" Elena looked to Hartford, her small hands moving with devastating simplicity. "Why are you angry that we made a friend?" The question hung, unanswerable. Thyron's hands moved. "The child asks the only question that matters." "This isn't about friendship," Hartford began. "It's about order, structure. It's about fear," Lyra signed. Jackson translated. "Fear that if humans and Theassians actually connect, actually see each other as individuals, the systems that keep us separate will fall apart. Those systems employ people. Give them power." Her luminescence built until she glowed from within. "I work at the Colonial Archive. I process historical records. I've read early post-contact documents before your office sanitized them. I've seen proposals for full integration rejected, not because they were dangerous, but because they were inconvenient. True equality meant sharing power. It was easier to create departments and protocols than actually treat my people as equals." The restaurant was utterly silent. Thyron stepped closer, authority in her signs. "You've read the Tethys Accords." "The original drafts." Lyra nodded. "The ones proposing shared governance from the beginning. Equal representation. Integrated education. The ones rejected as premature." Hartford's face darkened. "Those documents are classified. They're historical records," Lyra signed, "accessible to any archivist with proper clearance. They show integration could have happened 2 decades ago, but it was deemed too risky. Not for our species, but for the power structures on both sides who benefited from maintaining separation." Elena's hands cut through the tension. "So you all agree we should be friends? You just don't want to say it, because it makes your jobs harder." From a child, the truth was undeniable. Thyron knelt to Elena's level, robes pooling around her. "Small one, you are wiser than all of us. Yes, we should all be friends. I'm sorry. Adults make simple things complicated." She stood, facing Hartford. "Counselor, I move that the Colonial Council review all integration office protocols, with the goal of removing barriers to genuine social connection." Hartford's calculation was visible. Finally, he nodded stiffly. "The council will consider such a review." But as the counselors turned to leave, commotion erupted near the entrance. Protesters were gathering, revealing just how much stood against the simple idea that 2 species might actually become one community. Outside, the crowd grew. Humans held signs, "Humans first." Disturbingly, some Theassians carried banners, "Preserve Theassian purity." Fear existed on both sides. Elena buried her face in her father's shoulder. Lyra's luminescence flickered erratically with stress. "We need to go," Jackson signed. But Thyron turned back. "No, don't run. That's what they want. To prove connection leads to conflict. If you stay, if we face this together, we become a different story." The manager approached. "Please remain inside until security arrives." Outside, the crowd swelled. News drones hovered overhead. Then, something unexpected. Other people arrived. Humans and Theassians together. forming a protective barrier around the restaurant. They didn't shout. They simply stood, hands linked. One woman held a child who waved at Elena, hands moving in awkward but earnest sign. You're brave. Elena's face lifted. Papa, look. They're protecting us. Lyra moved to the window, her luminescence steadying. I've never seen this. Thyacians and humans standing together. Not at an official event. Just choosing each other. Hartford approached quietly. Mr. Rivera, what you started tonight, it's forcing conversations we've avoided for 20 years. Those conversations will get ugly before they get better. Then maybe they need to get ugly, Jackson replied steadily. Maybe we've been too comfortable with protocols that let us pretend we're making progress when we're maintaining the status quo. Hartford looked at Elena, then Lyra. Your daughter. When the backlash comes, and it will, she'll be targeted. Are you prepared? No, Jackson admitted. I'm terrified, but I'm more terrified of teaching Elena that fear is a reason to ignore what's right. My wife died because of someone's careless convenience. The kind of prioritizing comfort over others' safety. It kills people. It kills communities. It kills possibility. Lyra's hands moved. In Thyacian philosophy, we have lumeris, the light we carry that illuminates the path for others. To be visible is to be vulnerable, but also to be a guide. Tonight, we're all visible, and maybe that's what needed to happen. Elena signed. Mama said being deaf meant I experienced the world differently, not less. She said I could teach people to communicate better. You glow when you feel. I sign when I talk. Papa speaks, but listens with his hands. We're all different, but we're all talking. That's what those people don't understand. From a 7-year-old, the solution seemed simple. Security arrived, dispersing protesters. The supporters lingered, waving before departing. Thyron approached one final time. What you've done will resonate beyond the city. I will fight for real change, but there will be backlash. Please be careful. As the restaurant calmed, Jackson, Elena, and Lyra remained at their table. What happens now? Lyra signed. I don't know. Jackson's hands moved thoughtfully. But Elena and I would like to see you again. As friends. Lyra's luminescence pulsed with hope and gratitude. I would like that very much. Elena signed excitedly. Can we show you our book collection? Papa has the poetry, but the rhythm is hard. I'd be honored to help. Lyra signed, her genuine smile reaching her eyes. As they stood to leave with security escorts, none of them knew their friendship would become the catalyst for the most significant transformation in human Thyacian relations since first contact. Testing not just their courage, but the foundations of two civilizations learning to become one. 3 months later, the Colonial Council passed the Integration Reform Act by a vote of 7-5, with Iran casting the decisive vote. The act dismantled restrictive protocols, transformed the Integration Office into a support service, mandated mixed-species education programs. Director Westbrook resigned in protest. Few mourned her exit, but victory had costs. There were protests, some violent. 3 community centers were vandalized. Families like Jackson's received threats from extremists on both sides. Through it all, Jackson, Elena, and Lyra continued their friendship. Lyra became a regular presence at the Rivera home, helping Elena expand her signing vocabulary into Thyacian dimensions, teaching Jackson Thyacian poetry, its rhythm based on light pulses, not sound, sharing quiet evenings on the balcony, watching the 3 moons rise over New Havana's glowing canals. Jackson found himself falling in love, cautiously, terrified of betraying Maria's memory, but unable to deny his connection with this brilliant woman who saw his daughter as perfect. Lyra felt it too. Her luminescence betrayed emotions in ways human blushing never could. 6 months after their first meeting, Jackson taught Elena a Thyacian phrase Lyra had shared privately, one that meant more than words could convey. That evening, on Jackson's balcony, Elena's hands moved through complex, beautiful signs. You illuminate our path, and we carry light for you in return. We are family, across stars and silence, united in the language that matters most. Lyra's luminescence exploded with emotion. Tears streamed down her face as she pulled Elena into a fierce hug. Her hands moved to Jackson. Thank you for seeing me when I felt invisible, for teaching her to see beyond what the world said was possible. Jackson's response was simple. Thank you for taking a chance on a single dad and his stubborn daughter, for showing us the universe is bigger than our fears. Below, the city continued its eternal dance. Hundreds of thousands of beings learning that connection wasn't to be managed. It was to be celebrated. The viral recording had been viewed over 200 million times. But for them, it remained what it always was. A moment when three people chose kindness over comfort, courage over compliance. Elena fell asleep between them, still signing in her dreams, her father on one side, and the woman who'd become her second mother on the other. And in that quiet evening, with 3 moons casting light on a world still learning to see itself clearly, the universe whispered its ancient truth. That consciousness yearned for connection above all else. That barriers between beings were never as solid as they seemed. That love, friendship, understanding, these transcended biology, history, fear. In a universe built on division, sometimes a single act of dignity was enough to shift the stars themselves. And slowly, beautifully, the galaxy began to listen. Thank you for watching. If this story touched your heart, please like, subscribe, and share. Leave a comment. We read every single one. Until next time, remember, the light we carry illuminates not just our own path, but the way forward for everyone brave enough to follow. Taunt.